15 years, blowing the doors off the competition. Podcasting to planet Earth.
PNRNetworks.com.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
This is a Class 1 emergency. All civilian traffic is barred from streets and highways. Stay in your homes. Stay in your homes. Stay in your homes. Repeat, this is a Class 1 emergency. All civilian traffic is barred from streets and highways.
Do not panic. Do not panic. We've got the quirky films for your quarantine blues. Subject Cinema presents Captive Audience Theater with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
I don't know about this.
Why? It's not Orgy of the Dead.
No, I realize it's not Orgy of the Dead, but at least that had an excuse. That was Ed Wood. I mean...
And Tommy is like the current generation Ed Wood.
Yeah, but I mean, people are going through so much right now. Should we really expose them to this?
Absolutely. It's so bad it's hilarious.
Well, I mean, that is the point of the show, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
All right.
Welcome to Subject Cinema presents Captive Audience Theater. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
And if you haven't figured that out from our discussion here, it's time to dip our fingers and toes and hindquarters into one of the most talked about bad movies of all time. The movie referred to as the Citizen Kane of bad movies, Tommy Wiseau's classic 2003 release, The Room.
If you dip your fingers and toes and your hindquarters into something, you're some kind of contortionist.
No, it's called taking a bath. And that's what we're going to do in this movie, take a total bath, because it's...
Yes, and then someone's going to drop a plugged-in toaster into it. Okay, The Room. Now, I realize...
Kim hates this movie way more than I do.
I really hate this. No, I will be the first to admit this movie is painful and fun.
It's painful and
fun.
Hilarious.
But I will be really honest, I hate the ending of this movie.
Why is that?
We want to do this now? We don't want to wait...
You don't have to say what happens, but why does that... Why do you hate it so? Do you think it's not realistic? Do you think it's over-realistic? Do you think it's really overwrought?
No, and none of those.
Okay.
I hate it because of my own sense of...
Justice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or vengeance.
I can understand that, yeah.
Or vengeance, depending on your point of view.
The wrong person gets the right thing.
Kind of, yeah. You know.
I have a feeling you would be pointing that at Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, before we get, in case you have never seen The Room...
Which we really doubt anyone listening to this show falls into that category.
The Room is not available online. You will have to rent the DVD or rent it. I don't know if you can even rent it unless you have it, know somebody. Or borrow it from somebody. Or buy it for $10 on Amazon. It's worth the money.
Or watch it in clips on YouTube. I think you could probably do that.
I don't know. Tommy's so litigious. If you're not careful, he'll sue your butt off.
Well, I know there's scenes from it on Riff Tracks on the...
oh, well, yeah, that's true.
You know.
And the Riff Tracks... I don't know if the Riff Tracks live version is available. It might be on the Shout Factory site. I didn't check, but
I don't know.
I doubt it. I imagine Tommy
this film
only gave them a certain window of release. So
this film came out in 2003, and we'll be honest, we didn't see it until
2011.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd heard about it.
I hadn't heard about it till 2009. And then,
Yeah.
and then we started...
That's about when we started hearing about it.
We heard about it because we started investigating bad movies thanks to the 2010 release of Birdemic, Shock and Terror, which is also coming up on this show at some point.
Yeah.
And we saw...
We heard about this film, and we kept seeing people calling it the Citizen Kane of bad movies. And I was like, okay, come on. I've seen Plan 9 from Outer Space. This movie cannot be worse than Plan 9 from Outer Space. I stand chastened and rebuked. Oh boy.
As I know this is going to be extremely difficult for you.
Me?
Yes.
Okay.
Could you run down the sort of haphazard plot of this movie?
Okay. This movie, in case you can't figure it out from all of the exterior shots, takes place in San Francisco and is the story...
Even though it was shot in Los Angeles.
Yeah. It's the same state. Whatever.
Tommy had houses in both places.
No offense to anybody in California. I'm sure it's a lovely place. I've never been there. Johnny, our main character, who's so important to the story we never get his last name,
we don't get the last name of any of these characters for the most part.
No, we don't get anybody, unless R is a last name.
Yeah, R.
So he's a pirate?
R.
Anyway, Johnny works at a bank, and his life is pretty much perfect. He's got a great house.
Rephrase that.
He thinks
his life is perfect. Yeah.
Well, his life should be perfect. He's got a great job. He's got a great house. He's got a fiancé. And everything should be fantastic. He has a fiancé that he gives all kinds of gifts to. He's very attentive.
And although he never refers to her as a fiancé, only as his future wife.
Yeah.
Which I find interesting.
Which is another way to say fiancé.
It is, but they never use that word in the movie.
No, that is true. That is true. The problem is, his fiancée, Lisa, is your garden variety slut. Well, she is. I'd say she's a whore, but whores are smart enough to get paid. Lisa's just a slut.
Well, she gets paid. She just gets paid by the wrong person. She gets all the gifts from this man who thinks she's faithful to him.
Yeah. So the thing is, not only is Lisa a slut, she's spreading it for Johnny's friend, Mark. And the thing is, everyone is like, why? The other people know that Lisa's having this relationship, including Lisa's mother. Lisa's mother, whose name is Claudette, and boy, the apple don't fall far from the tree there, folks, because Claudette is completely like, oh, why don't you stay with Johnny? He's so good to you. This is even after Lisa lies to her mother and tells her that Johnny hit her, which did not happen. Claudette is still like, oh, well, you should stay with him because he's a good person and he gives you all sorts of things. And I'm sitting there going, WTF. If I thought that a man hit my daughter, he would be gone. There would be no question about it. He would just be gone. Of course, we also find out from Claudette that she's been to the doctor recently, and she has her own news to impart to Lisa, her news being the fact that she has breast cancer. Now, normally, that's a very important plot point in a film, and it's normally... Thanks for that. Give it away, why don't you? And normally, a line like that is given with some gravitas. It's given with, maybe some tears, or maybe a very dramatic scene, or at least a very dramatic reading of the line that you have a potentially fatal disease that it could possibly change the way you feel about yourself as a woman.
Her reading of that was not a problem. It was Lisa's reaction that undercut it.
Oh, bull crap. Her reading of that line was awful. She wanted to do another reading of that, and Tommy said no.
I know.
The reading of the line is like this, and I can't do this justice, but I'll do my best. I have breast cancer. Said in the same tone that you would
say, I definitely have breast cancer.
I definitely have breast cancer. Said in the same tone that you would say, I missed the bus, or I have a run in my pantyhose. Now, by this point, I am convinced that while we're watching this film, are in the Twilight Zone, because there is no way someone could actually think this is actually the way you would say that line of dialogue. And that point of dialogue, the point of said dialogue being the fact that she has a fatal disease, is never brought up again.
It's a twist.
We see Colette later in the film.
Several times. Never comes up again.
Every time she comes on screen, I'm like, have fun with your breast cancer! Because I'm a terrible person.
You're not the one that started that.
No, I know, but I'm the one that does it in our house because, see, again, I'm a terrible person. And actually
it's just because Lisa said to her, oh, I'm sure you'll be all right, Mom.
I'm sure you'll be all right. Yeah, she's completely I'm sorry, nonchalant is not the right word, because there actually is a word that describes Lisa that isn't the word slut, although it is another word that starts with S, and that word is sociopath. Oh my gosh, that woman is a textbook definition of sociopath.
Okay.
She has no empathy, no compassion for anybody else. It's all about her and her needs and what she wants, and everybody else can go screw. She wants to get the big D from Mark, that's fine. Never mind that Johnny treats her like a queen. And the fact that she's that all of this finally comes out, and Johnny finds out that she's unfaithful. And it's, oh boy, it ends in a suicide, and it's, I hate this movie.
We skipped over a lot there, but we'll get to it as we go through the... There's
other plot points that go absolutely nowhere.
That's the whole point. There's the fact that they go absolutely nowhere.
The only plot point that has a beginning, middle, and conclusion is the fact that Johnny is a nice guy who is engaged to Lisa, who's spreading it for Mark, and that all ends in tragedy. Now, the thing is, when people make movies who know what the F they're doing, they have a lot of they'll have one enormous plot points, but they'll have a lot of other little plot points spread throughout the film. And if you are a filmmaker who knows what the F you're doing, by the time you get to the end of your film, all of those plot points have been somehow resolved. They may not have been resolved satisfactorily, but they've been resolved, or at least addressed again in the film.
Nope.
Not in this film.
That's a big nopey nope.
This again goes back to we're in the Twilight Zone, aren't we? Because apparently we're in this other alternate universe where plot, screw that,
Tommy wrote the play, then a book, then the script for this film. He produced it, he directed it, he paid for it, he did everything, including paying $5,000 a month for 5 years with that gigantic room billboard in downtown Los Angeles.
Which only has his face on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even though they took several other shots.
Yep.
And could have used the rest of the cast.
Could have used any other shot besides that shot.
Joining him in this endeavor? Juliette Danielle as Lisa, Greg Sestero as Mark, Philip Haldeman as Denny, who we didn't talk about.
That's where I was going to go with
Carolyn Minot as Claudette, and Robin Paris as Michelle, plus guest shots from Mike Holmes, Dan Janigan, Kyle Vogt, Greg Ellery, Piper Gore, Carrie Dermott, and a number of other people.
Now, one of those other plot points that I mentioned that got started and then just meandered off like a lost sheep was the plot point involving Denny. Denny, who is a college student, he's a young man who is...
A young college student, because I always thought they played him kind of like around 16. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't know, maybe he's 18 or 19 here, but he doesn't look like it or act like it.
He doesn't act like it. He's...
The reason that is because of the entire cast, despite Greg's earlier experience, Philip is the only one that actually can act in this film. Mm-hmm. People give him shit all the time, but he literally had a master's degree in drama from the University of Arizona, I believe, before he did this film. He was the oldest member of the cast, except for Wiesel. And he was playing way younger.
And acting way younger.
Yeah.
I mean, Denny is supposed to...
His career was ruined by this movie.
Yeah. Denny is supposed to be in college and acts like he's about 12? 13?
Yeah, 15, maybe.
I think you're being kind.
Yeah. Well, he acts the way he's supposed to act according to Tommy's script.
Yeah.
Because Johnny is taking care of Denny. He's paying his college. He's paying for an apartment apparently nearby.
Yeah. And turns out to rescue Denny from a drug dealer, because apparently Denny through all of this is on drugs or was on drugs. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, that explains it.
And he lusts after Lisa.
Yeah.
Which he admits to Johnny, and Johnny's like, go on.
Yeah.
Find a girl your own age. I'm looking at Lisa, she is my own age. Because she's markedly younger than Tommy.
Considering the fact that Lisa's also probably a petri dish of STDs. Oh, please, if you think that Mark's the first person she's had an affair with, I have a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you super cheap.
Yeah.
But anyway, Denny winds up being threatened at gunpoint by a thug named Chris R. because apparently Denny did drugs or is doing drugs or whatever and owes said drug dealer some money. I'm like, oh, he's on drugs or was on drugs. Oh, that explains why he acts like that. Okay.
It doesn't, because he still acts like that for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Some drugs will really screw you up. I'm like, damn, that boy got a bad batch of something.
Well, somebody got a bad batch of something with that tuxedo football scene that made no sense.
Oh, anywhere. Not only that, the two friends that decide to have sex in Johnny's house, that they're waiting around for
and don't forget Mark almost murdering what was his name, the shrink friend, Peter, and then I'm sorry, let's forget about it, and they do they're right back to being best buds again, because he knows that he figured out that Mark and Lisa are having an affair. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I would quickly forgive someone who tried to, end my life. That's, I realize I'm like, okay, you know what?
Throw him off that rooftop.
Forgiveness is supposed to be a Christian quality, but apparently Peter's like super Christian or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like as in a superhero called Super Christian or whatever. But I'm sorry. Oh my gosh.
No, he didn't play Bible Man. That was Willie Ames.
Good point. Could we never bring that up again? Let's make a deal. Never bring that up again.
What, the Bible Man was played by Willie Ames?
That it existed.
Oh, okay.
Period. End of statement.
It was a huge hit when it was on.
No, my whole thing was just jumping back to, first of all, who lets their friends just show up in their house when they're not home? Who lets themselves into their
one of them was home, because Lisa was their friend, too.
They weren't home. They weren't there, were they? I don't know.
Oh, with the sex thing?
When the girl's when the girl's giving her boyfriend a blowjob?
I thought Lisa stepped out for a minute or something, or they
were
house sitting or something. It wasn't
something like that, and her friends just decide her friends just decide the boy's gonna get a Hummer from the girlfriend in the living room, and the faces he's making while this alleged blowjob is happening. I'm like, you've never had sex, have you? Because I'm like, please tell me you've never had sex. I mean, I know the poor actor was only going by whatever the script said.
Yeah.
But I was just sitting there going, could somebody please put a wallet under that man's tongue? Because I think he's having a fit. Mm-hmm. All of this melodrama ends up at the end of the film with Johnny finding out that Lisa is...
Well, he suspected from about halfway through that Lisa's cheating on him, but he couldn't prove it.
And he finds out that, yes, it is happening.
And it's with his best friend, Mark.
Yeah. So he goes through this whole...
hi, Mark!
Yeah. He goes through this, everyone's betrayed me, blah, 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 and then gets a gun. Now, when this happens, I turn into Daffy Duck, because I'm like, now's your chance, Hawkeye! Shoot her! I was completely like, yes! No, Johnny shoots himself. The end of the film is Lisa and Mark,
and Denny.
And they're, this happens while they're in the house.
Denny is so distraught, he calls Johnny Tommy.
Yeah.
When they left it in. I'm like, oh my God, really? Okay.
And in a moment of you have to be effing kidding me, Mark lays all the blame for this on Lisa. Mm-hmm. And leaves in disgust. I'm like...
But he comes back.
I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, so that was somebody else's penis that fell into her vajayjay? Do you have that detachable penis that King Missile was talking about in that song?
Oh, carbon dating.
I know.
Oh, bad.
I'm
okay.
like, and the film ends, Johnny's dead, and we've wasted an hour and whatever of our lives.
I have the utmost respect for two of the cast members. Philip Haldeman, who had studied to be an actor for many, many years. This was his first role, and unfortunately, it was also his last role. Nobody would hire him after he did this. He went on to become a well-respected newspaper columnist in Arizona, where he lives. He also designed and wrote a comic book about his feelings about making The Room and how it ruined his career.
Yeah.
You can look that up online.
I really think that's not fair.
He actually, he's done interviews about it. He has now embraced it, like most of the cast have finally embraced the film, because they appreciate that they all knew they were making a bad movie. Tommy was the one that didn't know. There was also Greg Sestero, who wrote a hilarious account of his friendship with Tommy called The Disaster Artist. It was turned into a feature film in 2017 with James Franco as Tommy Wiseau, brother Dave Franco as Greg Sestero, and an all-star lineup of people as the cast of The Room that included Seth Rogen as one of the director guys, Sandy. Mm-hmm. Also, Paul Scheer was the other guy.
He was like one of the head camera guys.
He was the assistant director and cameraman, and included a number of actors, including Jackie Weaver playing Carolyn Minot, who played Claudette, Josh Hutcherson as Philip Haldeman, who played Denny, Ari Grainer as Juliette Danielle, who played Lisa. And it is a freaking riot.
Yeah.
The Franco brothers became huge fans of his and are friends with him and have truly become good friends with him. And Tommy has accepted the fact that this is not a great movie. Although he continues to play it off as an intentional black comedy. That's his ego. He knows it's a bad film. And we actually see that in a scene at the very end of the movie, which actually got both of us like, oh, damn it, they're trying to humanize this. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Shit.
We saw, when we heard they were making The Disaster Artist into a film.
I could not wait till it came out, because I read the book and it was in complete hysterics.
I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. When we heard James Franco, who we both adore as an actor, was going to be playing Tommy Wiseau, we were both kind of like, what?
He's perfect.
And then we saw was it the first trailer or was it a sneak? It was a sneak of the infamous shot on the roof. It's a shot where,
let me pull that back up again.
Where
Johnny has just been accused
Johnny has been accused of hitting Lisa. He comes out of the door, because it's one of those little things that goes up to the roof, and he
slams the door open.
Yeah, he's railing.
I did not hit her. It was not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah. Now
that scene, according to Greg Sestero's book, took 37 takes because Tommy could not remember his lines
that he wrote. And
I was on the floor.
We saw that scene, and we both sat there, and we were like, oh my gosh, he is Tommy in this scene.
He freaking channels Tommy the way Carl Urban channels DeForest Kelly.
It was creepy. It was scary. Is The Room a bad film? Yes. Now, as to why...
Is it irredeemable? No. It is a very funny movie, and has become the modern day equivalent of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, with people doing dialogue, dressing clothes, throwing spoons at the stage.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same kind of audience participation
which makes a lot less of a mess than throwing toast.
It does, yeah. It makes a lot less rice.
Rice, toast, shooting off water guns to simulate rain, stuff like that. As to why I hate this movie and why I hate the end of this movie.
Because Lisa didn't get hers.
Yes.
Yes. I know that.
I realize that some people are going to go, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that, blah, blah, blah. Now, the reason that I said that is because now we all go to the movies.
She had it coming and didn't get it.
Yeah. We all go to the movies for different reasons. One of the reasons we go to the movies is because in a movie, you like to see the good people have something good happen to them and the bad people have something bad happen to them, because that so rarely happens in life. And when you don't get it, it irritates you. And the fact that Lisa survives to the end of this movie annoys me to no friggin' end. Now, maybe that's because I've been, grown up on a steady diet of horror movies, and specifically the slasher movies of the 70s and 80s and stuff like that, where the girls that do it always wind up with an axe in the brain by the end of the movie. And I realize this isn't that kind of a film anyway, but I'm like, she doesn't deserve to exist at the end of this movie. She's a bad person, and this is a movie. We couldn't have one little act of defenestration, just one. I'm not asking for a lot. I'm just asking for one woman to go out a window. I don't think that's too much to... All right, maybe that's a little too much to ask for, and I'll probably just put myself on a watch list. But I don't know. That just bothered me. It's just because she's the villain of the whole movie, really. I mean, Mark's a villain he's a secondary villain, because
Mark is kind of manipulated into this affair, and he tries to break it off a number of times.
But he keeps going back because he's thinking with that head instead of that head.
Yeah, he's thinking with the boys instead of with his head.
Leads back to that line from Plan 9 from Outer Space. All you people of Earth are idiots, I
want to mention this real quick before we forget and before we get out of here. Tommy is a litigious SOB sometimes.
Well,
for 5 years, the producers of a documentary about the movie have been fighting with Tommy. After getting his permission, he revoked it, and of a documentary about the making of The Room. Tommy lost his final appeal in a Canadian court last week, and as a result, sometime this year, we will probably finally get to see Room Full of Spoons, which is the name of the documentary and which we are Kickstarter backers of. It has full interviews with Greg, Philip, and a number of other people. I've seen a working copy of it, and I don't know why Tommy was upset. I think it's because he can't monetize it because it's not his.
Well, he might be worried it doesn't put him in the best light.
Well, he doesn't care at this point. And he got his dream. He was at the Academy Awards in 2018 as James Franco's guest, when James could have been, he wasn't, but he could have been nominated for an Oscar. He was on the short list. A lot of people expected it to be. So he got the dream of being at the Oscars and mixing with the film people he loved it to be a part of.
Yep.
Since this movie was made, he's continued to make movies, including a new movie that came out 2 years ago called Best Friends. The R is in a parentheses, so the title is technically Best Fiends. It was released in 2 parts to Fathom Events. It was one of their biggest ever sellers. Mm-hmm. It stars Tommy and Greg, and it's now out on DVD. You can get The Room on DVD and Blu-ray, complete with commentary, interviews, and everything by Tommy, with Tommy. And interviewed by Greg.
Yeah, he does have another film coming out, and Greg is in it. It's a movie. It's a shark
He's
attack
got
film.
Something called Sharks coming out, which looks suspiciously like a Sharknado ripoff. And he has insisted twice now, but it has not yet come to light, that he is turning The Room into a Broadway musical. We'll see if that ever happens. There has actually been a couple of plays written about Chris R., the drug dealer that Denny falls in trouble with in the film. There's short musical plays that ran in New York briefly in 2018. And, of course, it's continually mentioned in TV and movies, and I mean, it has huge fans. Yeah. They worked references into it to several episodes of Veronica Mars, because not Kristen Bell too, but the director, Rob, I forgot his name, they're both huge fans of it, and so they worked it into several episodes, and it's out there. People love it. If you've never seen it, you owe yourself to watch it just once. You don't have to watch it again unless you like it. Fair enough?
I think that's fair. As for where we should categorize this film here on Captive Audience Theater, I'm actually going to put this... No, I'm going to have to put it here. It's kind of a mix of directorial disaster, because Tommy Wiseau, and who thought this was sexy?
As in Tommy Wiseau.
As in the sex scenes, because that's not the way you have sex. I'm sorry. There's several love scenes with Johnny and Lisa,
one of which Denny tries to watch.
Yeah, and tells them that he likes to watch.
Is it any
Shower for one coming up?
Anyway.
Paging Dr. Freud, your thesis is here. But I'm sorry, there's several scenes where you're watching this and you're like, that's not, you people fail biology forever.
And Greg got to wear his jeans during his sex scenes with Lisa because he was uncomfortable with undressing on camera. That's like the love scene where they're both fully dressed in Birdemic. We'll get to that eventually, but... Anyway, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Captive Audience Cinema and our theater, and we will be back with more as we continue on our COVID quarantine classic series here.
Our cavalcade of pain. Because what do we always say here on Captive Audience Theater?
If we have to suffer... Yeah, whoops, got it backwards.
If we have to suffer, you have to suffer.
Although it could be, if you have to suffer, we have to suffer. Let us know.
We need some...
If you've got a bad movie that you want us to do, subjectcinema@PNRNetworks.com, and we'd love to
we need some, like, plinky, happy homemaker music behind that. Right. That whole if we have to suffer, you have to. We need some plinky homemaker, happy homemaker music behind that.
Of course we do. In any case, don't forget to check out our shows on all the other stuff we do, including Platinum Rose's Garden, 3 Minute Weekend, which is on hiatus, but Tuesday Digidex on the same channel is not. Also, Ring Around the Rosie, Platinum Rose Roleplay, Catastrophe Vortex coming back soon, our friends Cave Babble, and a lot more. You can find out all the information at ecinema1.com or any one of the PNR Networks websites, or go to PNRNetworks.com and get the lowdown on everything. And we hope that you'll stay there and watch us. My Twitter is ecinema1.
And my Twitter is PlatinumRoseL@twitter.com.
And you can catch us at Popcorn and Roses on Facebook and PNR Networks on Instagram as well.
Yep.
For Captive Audience Theater, until we meet again, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
Oh, Kim, you're tearing me apart!
You've been listening to Subject Cinema Presents Captive Audience Theater with Kim Brown and T.C. Kirkham. Produced by PNR Networks, Boston, Massachusetts.
Years, blowing the doors off the competition, podcasting to planet Earth.
PNRNetworks.com